Hi everyone, it's me Virginia Lindsay of Gingercake Patterns, and today it's the new year 2019 and I want to talk a little bit about sewing room organization. So first thing we're going to talk about are fabrics and scraps, and I'll bring you in and show you some of those details. Okay, so I've told you guys before that I'm not a perfectionist. I do like to keep things moderately neat. And this is my big fabric shelf. I like to keep my solids separate. So these are my solid stacks, and then these are all my cottons. This is quilting cottons. Up here I have some bolts of knit fabric that I bought for some stuff, but I like to, sometimes I'll have like a blue, a green, a pink, just depending on the variety of my fabrics. But right now I just kind of have it organized by warm or cool and warm, and then kind of miscellaneous, and then my solids. I have a lot of solids right now. These stacks are for fabric types that are not quilting cotton, or they are quilting cotton but they're like vintage fabrics. And then down here I have some of my felt, and then more non-quilting cotton fabrics. And then right here, these are some, this is some yardage of fabric. I'm going to make some kits for my crayon holders out of. So that's what I have going on there. And now I'm going to show you down below what I do. Okay, not very pretty, but real. And it keeps me fairly organized. So I have all these little bins that were like pretzel containers, and in them I have, here I have my piping, I have zippers, these are pom-poms and different things. So all my trims and things like that are kept here. And then down below, more of the same. This is like extra buttons and threads, buttons, rice, when sometimes I want to weigh things down, more binding, things like that. And then over here, just more miscellaneous. I have these little bins, scraps of felt, ribbons, all that kind of stuff. So nothing fancy, but this does keep me fairly organized. When you've sewn for a long time, and you do all sorts of little things like I do, you have a ton of scrap fabrics. And so actually right now my scraps are looking pretty good. Remember that video I did when I promised I was going to conquer my scraps, and I divided scraps into colors and all that stuff? Well, I still have tons of scraps, but not nearly what I used to. When I'm sewing, I usually take pieces that are no longer of a good size, big enough to fold into yardage, like this, and I'll shove them in these. This is what I have, these kind of little bins. They're from the dollar store, I think. Right now I only have one. Sometimes I have two full, and then piles. And then I'll take some time and usually recruit my kids, and we'll separate them all into baggies of color. Like these are all reds, oranges, yellows, and that really helps me to then be able to do further projects. So this and this are full of, see that's a green, are full of scraps by color. And then I just keep these down here, and when these bins get full, I have another one over here that is deflated. When those get full, I then divide them up and put them in these bags. And then when these are full, I know that, like they are right now, although they're not as full as they have been, I know that it's time to move on. I also put other kind of miscellaneous things here. I have freezer paper for doing applique, different stuff down here. My big rolls of Velcro, things like that. So that's the scraps. Now I'm going to show you how I keep my pattern pieces in order. Okay, these are all my PDF patterns that I've created myself, and then some other small ones. And what I did here, I needed them to be easily accessible, and I decided to, I must have seen the inspiration somewhere for something. It might have been some other kind of way to organize, but I bought this little simple curtain rod. That's all that is, like from Walmart or whatever. And then these little curtain hooks, which is the ring and then the little hook. And I put my pattern, this is like my bunny and elephant pattern combined, and I just used regular gallon bags, and I just put my pattern pieces are right in there. And I have not only the bunny and elephant, but sometimes I'll take them and I'll reduce the size and print those out, or I've made variations on them, and those are all in there, all the bunny and elephant. And then like here is my Max and Lola owls, my crayon holders, all these different things that I've used. The sleepover tote, and then these are really accessible to take them all. You can just easily take them down, open them up, take the pieces out, and use them, and then hang them back up. So this is my pattern victory, and now I'm going to show you my pattern piece failure. Okay, here it is, my big failure, and I'm really hoping maybe some of you guys will help me, because I don't know what to do about this. This is all my clothing that I've made. I'm not a big clothing sewer. I do sew for like my kids when they're little, and like they look really cute, little handmade dresses and stuff. But for me, like I'm tall and I don't really like how handmade I haven't found patterns that really work on me, except a couple that so I have all of these patterns just like stacked in here, and then so I'll have like the one that I've put all together, and then I'll trace, because I think, oh, maybe I'll make this in a different size or whatever. But so I have all these stacks, and it goes all the way down here, and it is not a very good organization. It does keep them all in one place, I guess, and since I don't use these all that often, it's not that big of a deal, but that is where those are, and it's not a great, I would love for that to be better organized, but I guess it's not that bad for now. But if you have a great technique, leave me a comment, let me know what to do there. Here is my pegboard wall, which I would suggest that you definitely do something like this for your sewing supplies. It's really inexpensive, and it looks really nice, and it's a great way to be organized with all your little tools. I just got a pegboard from the home improvement store. I painted it white, but you don't have to. They also come with these little, you can buy a set of these hooks, which you can then hang all sorts of, I have all my scissors, I have these are just, sometimes I have miscellaneous stuff hanging up here. My measuring tape, and then up here I have my steam-a-seam, all these things. Right here I just used three of the little hooks. This is what the hooks look like, if you can see that. And they just go right into the wall, and then you can hang things on them. I used 3 of them in a dowel rod, and I just used little like takeout containers, and then I just hung those up like in this style on the dowel rod, and I just drilled a hole in there and hung it up with some string, and that is a great way. Like I have my pattern weights, I have my Sharpies and rulers, and then my pens and pencils, different things like that. Up here, this is just like a miscellaneous. I tied this on with zip ties, which you can get again from the hardware store. Zip ties are super useful. And then just more things. And then down here, of course, I have these little fabric baskets. I have like I have so many pin cushions, and I love them. I like to have a ton of them just to keep, and otherwise I just have piles of pins everywhere. So I have pin cushions every which way, and they really help me to stay more organized. So that's my pegboard. That's not a big investment and very, very useful. Okay, now we're going to be on the move for a minute, because I want to show you several things. That right there is where my dog was down here, and he chewed on my little foam board. But I use a foam board like that to stand on. It really helps my knees. You can get one of those really cheaply. But what I really want to show you is that box right there. That box, I have 1, 2. I walk over here. There's my ironing board. Another garbage can there. Another garbage can there, and I feel like I might have another box somewhere else, and that is because I like to have a ton of garbage cans. Just I put all my threads in there. It keeps things really neat. Like I want to have one at every station of my, and this one gets really filled up. I just started filling it, but a nice big narrow box like that can really help with keeping things more organized in your sewing room. Just have lots of boxes to throw away all your scraps and threads and garbage, because you guys know what a messy business sewing can be. Okay, the next thing I want to show you, this is more of a, it's like about organization, but it's a lot about setup. And when you are setting up your sewing room, it's really important to make a good, a workspace with good flow. And I used to work in my guest room upstairs before I had my fourth child, and now it's her room. And I had the stuff kind of like all over the place, and I found myself getting up and moving all around and feeling kind of like I didn't want to get to my ironing board, and it made my sewing more sloppy. And now when I set up my room down here, and this is actually a really big room, it goes, twice the size that way, which you see sometimes in the beginning of my videos. But what I do now is I have my computer here, and I then have my chair that I move over here for sewing. So I sit here and sew, and believe me, I don't usually have my machine covered up. So I'm sitting here and sewing with my 2 pin cushions so I don't make such a big mess. So I'm sewing, and then my ironing board is right here. So I sew, I stand up, I can iron, and then my cutting table is right here, along with all my tools. So I have a nice triangle workflow, and that really makes your work move along a lot more quickly. Alrighty, so that was my last tip. I want to know your tips though, so go ahead and send me some good stuff about what you do to keep your sewing room in shape, and I hope these few things helped you. I also have like other spaces where I have shipping things kept, and then I have like my craft show paraphernalia, so it's a lot of storage down here. It's not perfect, but I feel like it works for me as long as I can keep it fairly tidy. And believe me, it blows up in a huge mess all the time when I'm feeling really creative. But it's pretty easy to clean up because I have space for everything. So give me your tips, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.